Hello, we are back in the sacristy today with the plants. They're doing great. And also it's been a while since I've shown you some fancy socks. And today I am wearing my St. John Paul II socks. They're so nice. And they also, not only do they depict St. John Paul II, but they also are argyle, which is nice. A little cool pattern, I think, for socks in general. In any event, I want to talk to you today about the Holy Spirit, okay? Because it's Pentecost this weekend. It's the Feast of Pentecost, the Feast of the Holy Spirit. And what I want to highlight is the Holy Spirit's descent. Okay, so we know the story of Pentecost. The disciples were there with Mary in the upper room in Jerusalem. And this was 10 days after Jesus' ascension. And Jesus ascended into heaven, and the Holy Spirit descends upon Mary and the disciples. Now, you have to keep in mind, this is the second time that the Holy Spirit descended upon Mary. So you recall that other story, very, very important story in the scriptures of the Annunciation, where the Archangel Gabriel appears to Mary and says, "You're going to conceive the Son of God." And she says, "Well, how?" And the Archangel Gabriel says, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, will descend upon you." And Mary is able to receive the Holy Spirit because of her humility. Okay, now keep in mind that Mary taught Jesus also how to receive the Holy Spirit. In his humanity, Jesus learned how to be humble, how to be open to the gift of the Holy Spirit. And remember that story where Jesus received the Holy Spirit at his baptism? He very humbly entered into the water at the Jordan River. And what happens? The Holy Spirit, as a dove, descends upon Jesus. So you can imagine Mary, who was humble enough to receive the Holy Spirit, and teaching Jesus, her son, who was humble enough in his humanity to receive the Holy Spirit. Mary also teaching those disciples in the upper room how to be humble enough to receive the Holy Spirit. Okay, and that's for us in our lives. For us to really enjoy that friendship with the Holy Spirit, it requires a lot of humility on our part. It takes courage to recognize and admit our own littleness, all of our deficiencies, all of our needs. That is preparing us for, again, do you see this action of the Holy Spirit going down, seeking the humblest, the smallest, the lowest souls, the lowest friends of God. And that's where, if the Holy Spirit is going to find us, if the Holy Spirit's going to fill our lives, that's where we have to be. Our attitude, our disposition, our openness. Here's an image for you. I don't know if this helps or not, but Jesus, he talks about the Holy Spirit, calling it the living water. Jesus offers us this living water. It's the gift of the Holy Spirit. And what does water do? Water always searches for the lowest point. Because of gravity, of course. Gravity pulls that water down to the lowest point. Okay? And that's how it is for us in our attitude. We want to be in the lowest point. And it's not gravity, but it's our love, our desire for the Holy Spirit, that it attracts the Holy Spirit to our hearts, to our souls. I know that all of us as Christians, we want to see the power of the Holy Spirit working within us. Well, that means that we really have to humble ourselves, to allow room for the Holy Spirit to work. If we elevate ourselves in any way, any form of pride or arrogance, if our ego is built up, guess what? We're lofty. The Holy Spirit doesn't look for souls up there. The Holy Spirit descends low. As the Holy Spirit descended upon Mary at the Annunciation and Jesus at his baptism, and upon those lowly, fearful souls in the upper room on Pentecost. So this weekend, it's Pentecost. We all experience the outpouring of the Holy Spirit if we're disposed properly. It's a good idea for us to just stir up within ourselves that dependence on the Holy Spirit, that longing, that very humble longing for friendship with the Spirit, that Spirit of power that also desires to work powerfully in us. Let's pull the Holy Spirit down deep into our souls by our humble desire to love Him.